Hey everyone, Geophysicist Stefan Burns here. We just had a magnitude 4.9 earthquake strike Louisiana, a very seismically inactive state. And in fact, this is the strongest earthquake to strike Louisiana in its recorded history based off of the information that I can find. Regardless, it is a very strong earthquake for this location on the globe, right in the middle of the North American plate, which is not that seismically active, especially right here. You do have the new Madrid fault system passing nearby. We'll look at that in just a little bit, but in general, you don't get big earthquakes here. Magnitude 4.9, quite large, especially if your house is located near this epicenter, then you're going to feel quite a bit of shaking from that. And consider the regional geology. It's a lot of sedimentary fill here, which is more likely to have low shear wave velocities to it, like this average shear wave velocity, a measure of the stability of the ground surface. And that low shear wave velocity will allow these seismic waves to really resonate strongly, creating strong surface waves. This is significant, and also having a 2.9 aftershock is a big deal. It's definitely nothing to ignore here. Let's look at our history of earthquakes in Louisiana. This goes back to the year 1800, January 1st, according to the USGS. Now, there's a certain time range of do we actually have observations for this, so you have to keep that in mind. But if we zoom out, I drew a box around this area in general, and we see these two earthquakes here, this 4.9, and then we see nearby a 4.8. That was back on May 17th, 2012, depth of 5 kilometers. It's a different state, but I would say it's generally the same area. And then you see that there's nothing surrounding those earthquakes for this entire time frame, going back to January 1st, 1800. There's probably some earthquakes that we don't know about from that 19th century, but maybe even a little bit in the 20th century. But by the time we got to the 20th century, we had good seismic coverage. Well, we see a bunch of earthquakes in the periphery. Specifically here, we see what happened with New Madrid in 1811, 1812. The bunch of magnitude 7s popped off, right? 7.0, 7.5. This was a significant earthquake burst that actually occurred for all of North America, because we had a big earthquake activity in SoCal later in 1812. We also had a big earthquake in Venezuela in 1812. So there was like a overall just increase in seismicity for North America at that moment in time. We see some earthquakes here around Oklahoma City. These are more recent, as you can see, 2011, 2016, magnitude 5s. This is induced very likely by fracking. And that's also the case if I was to draw this box further out to Texas. There's a lot of earthquakes now being induced by oil and gas drilling, and specifically fracking. They're actually fracturing the bedrock at depth, creating microfractures that weakens the rock and allows there to be larger earthquakes to occur. Interesting about this earthquake here, this magnitude 4.9, is that Louisiana is the site with the greatest amount of carbon capture projects, okay, in the United States. So here we see a map of all of those, and this earthquake occurred roughly in this location here. So here we have carbon capture from industry. This is like if there's a coal plant, they'll put something on it to capture those carbon emissions. So we can kind of ignore that as it relates to this earthquake activity. But look at all the sequestration sites that you have just south of here. And here we have a direct air capture site. But it's really these sequestration sites that are worth noting. You have them just south of that epicenter, not too far away. And they've been pumping a lot of this captured carbon into the ground. That's how you sequester it. So basically, you're either pulling it from stacks, or you're doing direct air capture, or you're somehow getting these carbon emissions, and you're creating liquid CO2, and you're pumping that down into the surface. And there's something right here. Here we go. The facilities plan to pool, this is what they plan to do, 33 million metric tons of carbon dioxide a year combined, according to the analysis, and inject at least 135 million tons into underground reservoirs. So this is direct carbon capture from the air. That's already a lot. And there's already these sequestration sites active. So this number right there isn't for what's happening now. That's what they plan for just the air capture. Basically what I'm saying is that there is a lot of anthropogenic activity occurring in the subsurface as a result of this sort of carbon sequestration in Louisiana, and now we are seeing the strongest earthquake in the state's history with this 4.9 and also an aftershock. So we could be seeing more seismic activity in this part of the world going forward, and I do think it is worth noting that the new Madrid fault system here, this is created from a failed rift valley now buried at depth. There's a lot of faults there. They can host strong earthquakes, and well, the thing is, if you start creating new fracture zones, there's this possibility of them starting to be able to kind of link up, and the larger and longer a fault system is, the bigger the potential for a strong earthquake. So that is kind of the main concern that I see. This is like really going forward the next 50, 100 plus years. But if we start to really fracture our continental crust for, let's say, North America and the bedrock effectively, we could be looking at more and more strong earthquake activity and perhaps even severe earthquake activity in locations that typically don't have them. That is certainly something to pay attention to. Here we see our U.S. hazard, and we see that we have the New Madrid fault system there, East Tennessee seismic zone, and then also quite a lot of risk here down near Charleston, South Carolina. And then, of course, if you go to the West Coast, you see it's a whole different story because of what's happening there, the plate boundaries. And you see a little bit of activity here in Oklahoma, right? And some of this is fracking. Some of it's probably also due to the geology there. But we're having more and more oil and gas fracking with Texas and really all across the United States. So more seismicity to be expected in the years ahead. And hopefully we don't see this start to spread and connect together, because that could be really quite significant. So that is your update. I'll keep you updated on what's happening with the Earth energetically, earthquakes, volcanoes, geomagnetic storms, severe weather, solar activity, space weather, we cover that as well, planetary alignments and geometry, interstellar cosmic forces, everything I bring together. I just want to understand what's happening with the Earth energetically. I release videos almost daily. This is my clips channel. I also have a main channel. I recommend you subscribe to both to stay up to date. Smash that thumbs up button to help the channel grow. Thank you all so much, and I'll see you all in the next video.